Welcome to Between the Before and After, a podcast about the stories that shape us. I'm your host, Coach John McClernand, and each episode I bring you an inspiring guest with a moving story that shines a light on the power of the human spirit. Before we dive in, I want to let you know about two very important things. Number one, the stories shared here are often gritty, raw, and vulnerable, and very likely will include speaking about sensitive topics suited for a mature audience. Number two, this podcast is also broadcast live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So on whatever platform you follow myself or Freedom Nutrition Coaching, you have the opportunity to participate in this discussion during the live stream. And we encourage your participation both by commenting and asking questions. And so this podcast is about exploring the stories that take place between the before and after photos, not just in the realm of weight loss, but in all areas of life. So let's dive in. All right, welcome back. I am very excited for today's guest, not just because she's a friend of mine and a colleague and someone who I respect and admire, but this is the first time I've had a former NFL cheerleader on my podcast. So, how you still got those cheer skills? Clearly, they have not gone rusty at all.
They are not rusty. Hey, John.
Hey, Heather. It's so awesome to have you on the podcast. We've done a few shows together through our collaborations with the Burn Along platform. And now I thought, well, you actually have a story that's worth telling and people should get to hear it. So welcome to the show. And why don't you let folks know kind of what you're up to right now and where they can find you if they're intrigued by your story?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm super blessed and excited. And yeah, my name is Heather Godesco, and I have been in the fitness and wellness industry for a long time, probably over 25 years now. And I currently am doing lots of things, juggling lots of different balls in the wellness arena. I work with you, John, and at Burn Along, and we're fellow partners there. And I also have my online business, which I virtually lifestyle coach and personal train. I also do the same right here in my studio, in my home. I have recently closed a gym of 10 years. That was my pride and joy, Sweat Like a Girl. But now I am moving into virtual and more one-on-one coaching. And what else do I do? Oh, I'm a mom. That's right. I'm a mom of three.
Let's not forget that detail.
No, yeah, that's my most important, most favorite job in the world, being a mom. My oldest is now 20. I have a 19-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I am also a wife to a super amazing man for a long time, almost 24 years this October.
That's awesome. And I think we've joked about before, even if we're past being spring chicken, you're seasoned chicken with lots of flavor and variety. So
in fact, that's how I like to describe myself anymore. I am seasoned in life. Absolutely.
Yeah. So life wasn't always this amazing for you. But I think one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you as well is because you have a different sort of story arc from maybe the traditional kind of like before and after that people see, in that in platonic sense, you're good looking. And for a lot of your life, your physical appearance has probably been one of the ways that people kind of measure your sense of value. And you know, you've also been fit and athletic for most of your life. And so there's a lot of assumptions made about somebody who is in your shoes. And so this is kind of a chance to share the other side of the story that people don't necessarily hear. And let's rewind the clock a little bit here. You can go back as far as you want to go, keeping in mind the clock itself. But sort of the path that led you into eventually making it into the NFL as a cheerleader, and kind of what that life was like.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, thank you for giving me that compliment about my external beauty. I appreciate it. But yeah, so I definitely, overall, if someone's like, hey, did you have a happy life or a not happy life? I would definitely say happy. However, definitely along the way, there's been lots of bumps, lots of obstacles. And again, because the pain or suffering that I had wasn't on the outside, it was all internal. It's hard to deal with, and you need to learn how to self-advocate. I've been physically active, loved movement since the time I was little. My parents, enrolled me in a gymnastics class. And from then on, it was like, no looking back. This is what I love to do. I feel most alive when I'm moving. And now even more so, obviously, when I'm moving and leading others to move and feel great. So for me, moving has been an expression where I truly feel myself. However, there's also been some parts of my life where I got too much into exercise and movement to the point that I was using it to make sure I looked a certain way. In addition, throughout high school, I played sports. I was a dancer. So in both sports and dancing, you have, obviously you're working on being healthy and fit to compete in that sport or to compete in dance. But again, a lot of it has to do with, fitting in the uniforms, making sure you're in that physical prowess shape. That goes along with being healthy. But when you're young, you don't tend to realize that quite as much, that it goes more into like being physically fit from the inside instead of just that outside appearance.
So, because I think that's really interesting as kind of a formative type of experience where, again, a lot of your validation as a human being, your value as a human being is being placed on you because of your physical appearance, which, you didn't choose your genetics. You got good ones, which is fantastic. But what does that do for like a young teen mind? And like, did you fit into like the popular crowd because of this? What was that like?
I mean, I guess I would be considered the popular crowd. In high school, I felt really great. I mean, honestly, I had a great high school experience. I had great friends. It wasn't until college that I started to devalue myself. I don't know if it was just the whole new atmosphere of college, more people around, different setting. Also, just realizing I'm not a kid anymore and starting to compare not just my physical attributes, but just really went down a rabbit hole of just thinking that I wasn't good enough, even though I was doing all the things. I was checking all the boxes. I was going to college. I was passing my classes. I had my boyfriend, who's now my husband. I was doing all of that. But in the inside, I was literally crumbling and knew that it was not who I truly was, but could not seem to get out of this rabbit hole of feeling like I'm just not good enough. I'm not, I would literally walk to school, to classes, and seeing anybody be like, oh, well, they have this that's better than me, or look at their shoes, those are nicer shoes than me, or wow, her hair's better than me. And it was just this rabbit hole. And I think I told you in my notes prior to the interview here today, the podcast, is that I even then would tell myself, like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is not that, like, stop being so terrible. Your problems are not awful. Like, there's other people in the world that are dealing with cancers and dealing with life-threatening diseases. Like, what the heck's wrong with you? So then I would self-shame myself for feeling this way until luckily I had enough internal strength to, I saw a flyer at Westchester. That's where I went, Westchester University. And I saw a flyer there for, it was a graduate student doing counseling or something for women. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Okay, this is my wake-up call. I'm going to go. And it was the best thing I could have done for myself. Learned a lot of coping techniques and slowly started to turn how I was feeling on the inside to reflect how I was looking on the outside. So that's kind of like my college experience.
When did you first become aware that like there's something more to, it's almost like you're discovering there's something more to life than just my, maybe I can't just coast on my physical appearance and sort of athletic prowess or something,
I mean, I don't think I ever felt like I was coasting on my physical appearance. Again, I think it was more of the realization that I think I was feeling like I just wasn't living up to some standard that I was holding for myself for whatever reason. And to this day, I still haven't really figured that one out. So just like someone who, finds themselves overeating, or someone that gets addicted to alcohol or a drug, it's not something that I'm fully ever healed from. Like, I still wake up and doubt myself or think, what am I doing? Even for this podcast with you, I'm like, oh gosh, I even said it. I was like, I don't think my story's that's that intense that people don't want to hear it. So I still have those doubts. And quite honestly, within the last, I'd say 2 years, I have really dove headfirst into really linking up the mind, the body, and the spirit, because I've been really good with the body part of wellness, right? I've been really good. I know how to train it. I know how to lead others to train it. And then it's been, my battle has been with the mind. And I'm realizing now that it really has to do with our inner spirit, our inner energy, which I exude, but I need to make sure that I'm being true to myself and that I feel whole on the body, the mind, and the spirit perspective. So
now, how did you go from, so you I think you're doing dance. What did you study at university? Was it related to this, or
health and phys ed?
Yeah. Shocker.
Shocker. Yeah. So I was a health and phys ed major. I minored in dance and, went through all of that. And I think college, especially now having 2 children that are in college, I think during college, it's really a time of like, you're just trying to figure out life and you have so many thoughts swirling in your head. So, the combined feeling of like, oh, I'm not good enough because this, that, and the other thing, it's a lot to deal with. But again, I was dealing with it. I was doing all the things and then, worked my way through it. And I have to say, like, again, it's been a daily, not struggle. I don't want to say struggle every day, but it's always back there in my head of knowing that I'm striving for some sort of perfection that is not fully attainable. But then, of course, you look at, I became an NFL cheerleader. So, like, how do you do that when you don't really believe 100% in yourself?
That's quite a process in and of itself. You're a dance major. How did this come about? Like, did you see an audition and decide, oh, what the heck? I'll take
a few girlfriends from Westchester and a few other girls that I know, we decided that we were going to do it. I had some friends that had cheered or danced on the 76ers dance team. And I missed those auditions because my mother, if she's listening, she had my wedding shower the day of the 76ers audition. So I couldn't go to the 76ers audition because of my wedding shower. So about 8 months later, I went to the Philadelphia Eagles audition because it was fun. It was like, I wasn't in school anymore. Like after you're out of college, you kind of miss those activities that you used to do. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. And it was an amazing experience from that first day of open auditions all the way through making the final cut and then cheering for 2 years. And, it was so much learning, so much of who I am. I've learned from those 2 years, good, bad, the ugly, all of it.
Well, I think the audition process itself, again, there's a really interesting thing that could have like sent you potentially into a dark direction again, or into a negative direction, because once again, you're now sort of amongst a group of your peers or equals, so to speak, in terms of maybe looks, athletic ability, that sort of thing. And now and you're being judged purely on that again.
Yes.
And
it's intense. I think I was in a really good place when, because life is not static. It's not like all of a sudden it's like, hey, I feel great. And then it's like, you feel great for the rest of your life. You have these ebbs and flows of life. So I was in a really good place when I cheered for when I auditioned. I had just gotten married, graduated college, had a teaching job. So I was feeling good. And I just went in there. And I think, one of the biggest things is I didn't go in there feeling nervous for the outcome. I was totally present in just going for that experience that day and really had no expectation really of like, oh, I really want this. I actually wore my hair in like pigtails like this, where other girls had their hair like really done up. And I think it was just that inner energy, that inner spirit that helped get me through and continue through.
So you just had some fun with it. So how many times did you have to actually go through auditioning? So there's like first open audition and then is this kind of like America's Got Talent sort of thing?
So long ago. Let me get the cobwebs away from my brain. It was definitely, so we had the open audition and that was open to anybody. And that was at the,
I could have like
any Eagles fans out there, that was at the Vet Stadium. So it was at the Vet Stadium outside, made it through that. And then it's over the course of a few weeks. So you continue to go back and forth, after you make that first cut, you go back, you learn a little bit more of the dance. Then they have some inside cuts again, you go through interviews. And then if you continue to make those, few weeks of cuts, you make it to the final audition. where at the time it's changed since then, because I cheered way back. My last year was 2000 to 2001. But we would go, it was in like a ballroom, and you would have to go up to the microphone one at a time, say your name. They asked us question about football. We had to answer that. And then we had to do the dance all by ourselves. Do you remember myself.
Do you remember what the question was that they asked you about football?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I know.
Like, how many ounces is a football?
Could have been. Could have been. Honestly, we were always more nervous about that question than the dance.
Right. Like, what are they going to ask me? How many cleats are on a football player's shoe?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
What?
So that was amazing.
This is totally random.
But it was an awesome experience. I remember, driving home, calling my husband, calling my parents, and I come from a family that loves the Philadelphia Eagles, most of them.
Right.
So it was a really awesome experience for our whole family.
Yeah. So you get the call that, hey, you've been selected, or do they call you back and select you in person?
They tell you that night.
Okay.
They taught you learn each, like, at least when it was me at my time. Yeah. You would learn it right on the spot.
Yeah. So now you're selected. Now the difference between, say, the Eagles and the Sixers is the number of games, I guess, but maybe you had to do promotional events as well.
So yes. So a lot of people don't realize it, that most dance teams or cheerleading teams don't travel with the team. So you're only doing the home games. Yeah. But even still, basketball has a busier schedule for sure.
Yeah, they have 82 game season, so they have 41 games versus 8 games. So you didn't have to show up and perform quite as often, which may be actually not a bad thing. I'm curious about, like, risk of injury, and do the cheerleaders get injured when performing routines, or are they sort of choreographed in such a way that the relative risk is low?
I mean, there wasn't crazy amounts of injury, just the normal, from dancing. I mean, our dances were pretty rigorous. So, again, that goes back to your physical fitness to make the team. Mm-hmm. Initially, you have to be physically fit. You need to be able to run those routines over and over and over again and not look like you're actually tired. So you have to actually,
very high level of fitness.
You still need to look like this while you're dancing and really struggling.
Yeah. This is really hard.
So the fitness was up there. So, when you're more physically fit, you have less chance for injury. But sure. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And we did have physical appearances too. So we had appearances all over the place that we would do.
Go and promote and whatnot. Yeah. So then the first game that you cheered for, who were the Eagles playing?
Oh, come on, John. I know I should know that, but I don't. I'd have to go back and look in my scrapbook. I actually made scrapbooks.
That's awesome.
I made scrapbooks. It was before, like, phones existed. It was when I cheered. That's how long it would go.
Yeah. What do they do now? I know that there's, like, websites where you can, like, photo books, like basically digital scrapbooks that get printed for you. But anyways, so you're not sure who they played. Do you remember how you felt going out in the field?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Very amazingly excited. Super duper. Just...
like there's crazy, there's gotta be crazy energy, right? Because there's 80,000. I don't know how many these stadiums hold. A lot of people.
Yeah. It was quite awesome. Just to be part of, like, that kind of excitement, game day excitement. It just so much energy, and to be part of it was a huge blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, cool. And what sort of interactions did you have with the football players, if any, and were there fairly strict boundaries around?
Zero. There was zero interaction, very strict boundaries. Yeah. I mean, basically, it's not like, they were practicing and the cheerleaders are, like, on the side doing their thing, practicing. Yeah. It's completely separate. So yeah, not at all. The only interaction would be professionally if we were doing an appearance where they were appearing, and so are we.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what made you, or do you only get, like, a certain tenure with them before they boot you out, or what made you decide to bring it to an end?
you can keep on trying out, but that's the thing. You do have to re-audition. So it's not like once you make it, you're, like, in. You have to, the entire year you're on as well. Every day you're showing up. That's part of your audition too for the next year. So you have to make a good impression. You have to continue doing all the things that you did to make the team that whole season. And then if you want to come back, you decide, hey, I'm going to audition again. And then, you have to come back and my second year, I definitely came back stronger because, you know what you're doing. And you kind of get it. I was in the middle of auditioning for my third year when we decided we were going to have a baby. And that's my 20-year-old. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was super duper fun. I mean, it was amazing, but I lived an hour away. I was teaching full time, and even though it's not a full-time job that you're there,
it is a full-time, consuming.
It's exhausting. Yeah. Cause even like at home, my parents or whomever would be like, oh, Heather's an Eagles cheerleader. So then it was like, oh yeah, hi. I went from being like normal Heather, like, okay. Oh yes, hi. So it's like constantly being on, which,
right.
You get used to, but it can be exhausting. But I needed a really good reason to walk away from it because it was so much fun and such a great experience. And of course, I love to move and dance and cheer. So I was like, let's make a baby. And that's what we did.
Yeah. So then, did you ever do cheerleaders get fans? I don't know if, they used to have trading cards and things like that. And
I have a trading card. Seeing if I have any of my frames around here. I had a trading card. So that was pretty exciting. My dad still asks me for trading cards to give to his friends that I have to sign because I still have a little stack that's left. And then, we would get fan mail, which was fun. Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess maybe it was good that the internet really wasn't as big back then as it is now. 20 years later, it was really in its infancy. MSN Messenger was just like coming into being, and I think Skype didn't exist back then.
No.
So like you actually got literal mail. Like,
yes, I still have it. It's written in my scrapbook.
That's awesome. What do you remember from the fan mail that you got?
Most of it was really just sweet and genuine, and there was, a little creepiness to some of them, but not a lot.
Well, like what's, just off the top of your mind, what kind of, I'm really grilling on this, but I mean, like what sticks out in your mind from like fan mail? I just wonder, like, does anything ever be like, oh, that was, that was like my favorite one?
A lot of it was they would send in a picture that maybe they had taken with you and they wanted it signed, or, we also did calendars the years that I were there. So it would be like, them sending a calendar that we would sign and then send back, things like that. That was the most common.
Really common. Yeah. So, signing autographs and whatnot. I don't even have your autograph. Like what's like,
I can give you a trading card.
You can give me a trading card.
Vintage. I like to say they're vintage now.
Yeah. Hey, maybe it's worth something now that it's some vintage in it.
Right.
At the 25-year mark, I don't know if 25, if it goes to antique or not. I'm not sure how
well, it's a few more years. I'll be antique.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll send you my mailing address afterwards, and you can sign a trading card and send it to me. And I will frame it in one of those those plastic cases, protective cases. I'll frame it. So when it's like 50 years old, I'll be like, yes, I have a Heather Gudusco trading card.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome. Well, that sounds like a super fun experience, really, and a lot of positivity came from that. Is there any downsides to being like you mentioned being like exhausting? And I think you were in a good place going through this, but did you ever see because it seems like this could be really like mentally and emotionally taxing for the team and whatnot, and it could send people down a challenging path.
Yes, absolutely. So, looking back, I know there was certain girls, luckily, my strength was always being able to keep myself physically fit and in a position where I was able to stay at the physical appearance of what we are supposed to be. Some people have problems with that, saying like as a NFL cheerleader, you shouldn't be put on a weight restriction or things like that. That does happen. That did happen. But at the same time, it also goes along with what a cheerleader is, what you're needed to do. I'm sure it's changed since I was there. Again, the world has changed a lot in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's still, a specific, range that you have to be in to do it. And again, it goes back to your physical output. You have to be able to, if you're not eating the right foods and you're not moving enough and then you're not going to have that physical outward appearance. So luckily for that, I was really good. Again, I think just throughout the years that I was there, it was, just comparing myself. And again, this is something I still struggle, comparing myself with others, and, like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. Am I doing that good enough? Should I be doing this better? She's doing that better.
Right.
But again, I think the energy, and honestly, we had 36 girls on a team, and we were really tight, really like family. There was not a lot of riffraff drama like many people would think. It was really
that would be the assumption that, like, you're sort of caddying and competing with each other and see each other as a threat to something that you want. But then again, you have a group of people who kind of understand like the rigors of what you're going through and like how challenges, because there's probably a lot of assumptions, right? Oh, being a cheerleader is easy. All you got to do is just go out there, sort of shake your pom poms, do a couple leg kicks, and look pretty.
Yes.
Turns out that's all it is, right? There's nothing more to it than that.
Yeah. Well, we for certain games we would have to go up into the boxes and sell the calendars. So, it was interesting because between men and women, there were certain women that would absolutely like love us and be like, oh my God, the cheerleaders are here. Let's go. Let's get a picture. And they were super fun. And then we'd had the flip opposite of other women just totally snooting us off, making us feel less than, kind of like not human. So that was not a good experience. But again, I think every experience you go through is going to teach you something. So if anything, it's really taught me not to judge, because, all the girls that I cheered with were exceptional women. Some were college students at the time. I was a teacher at the time. We had a doctor at the time, a Marine. So we had all walks of life that were cheering. And again, it's that whole assumption, I guess, what is part of my story, why I'm here with you today, is that it's hard for someone like myself to put two pictures on a Facebook post and be like, hey, this is me before and this is me after, because visually I look the same. I look happy. I look like I'm taking care of myself, but
you are.
It's that opposition with your thoughts and those limiting beliefs and getting stuck in that.
Yeah. And there's, I think what sort of the assumptions people might make about you, which would then preface how they treat you, like in terms of, it just interaction, even just in life in general, like as you move on from cheerleading and doing something that, you're on a big stage, you have some degree of notoriety, recognition, all that kind of stuff. And then you kind of go back to normal life. Mm-hmm. Is there like a bit of a letdown in that, in the sense of like, ooh, man, because that's like a lot of adrenaline
Yeah, I think though I was kind of ready to step away from that a little bit. And of course I had and now, like the excitement of a new baby. So you had you have that new energy and this new completely just feeling of, this is what I'm doing. This is my job now. I'm all in. So when my kids were little, that was like, I was living my dream there, because I had my first two 17 months apart. So it was like bada bing, bada boom. And I was like, oh mom, let's go all in. But I feel like my entrepreneur, my spirit of just wanting to serve others, to cheer others on, I guess, so to speak, has lived on throughout all of my chapters of my life. So, soon after I had my kids, and I never stepped away from fitness. I was always directing, at a gym, the aerobic program, and it was called aerobics back then.
Back in the day.
And I was teaching aerobics.
Did you wear like the big floofy socks and
Nope. That was in the 80s, but I did wear this in the 90s, the thong on the outside.
Yeah, that's quite a thing. I don't imagine it being like super comfy.
I don't know, but I did it. I even went to the grocery store after the gym with it on.
Right.
But so I was always teaching fitness. So I always had a stage of some sort, I guess, John. Right. So I always had like, my headset on. I was teaching. I guess I was getting my energy of being on stage through my group fitness. And then yeah, raising the kids. And
Was there ever a time that you wanted to like maybe go back and take another swing at it?
yeah. Yep. I forget what year. I was like, maybe I can go back and do it. And then I thought like maybe 5 minutes longer, and I was like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm good. But yeah, so like I was saying, this is what I was going towards. So like my entrepreneur, like I'm definitely identifying myself as an entrepreneur now.
For sure.
I know that I am. I have this creative spirit and all these things. Like I didn't realize it at the time, but soon after I had my kids and they were like toddlers, because I also had gotten a job at Gymboree, the sing-song preschool kind of gym.
Okay.
So I learned lots of preschool songs. So I decided I'm going to open up my own fitness business within the gym that I was teaching fitness at, called Fun Fit Gym. So I ran like little kids, toddler classes, sing-song classes, obstacle course classes. And then, I did that. And then we moved away. And I also started a dance studio with one of my friends. So that was another thing I did.
Why not?
So I've had a lot of fun. But I think through it all, I've experienced that up and down of the constant. And it's funny because I do all of these big things, but I also am doubting myself the whole time that I'm doing them. So
which I think is a really important, actually, and salient point to make, is we often look at people who are doing something successfully and assume that, boy, this must be easy for them. And it's like, well, actually, this is really hard. And I have doubts and I have fears all along the way, but I just kind of keep moving anyways, because I don't, I remember when one of my businesses failed, and it like literally cost me everything, like all of my life savings, and left me with a mountain of debt. And I was like, how do I even go home to my wife and tell her this, But I and not to hijack the story at all, but just to share, like,
yeah.
I was like, man, what do I do? And I can't go back to being an employee. Nothing against people who are employees. I think it's fantastic, but I just had this drive to do something to help people and to try to change lives that I couldn't settle for that. So despite all of my fears and doubts and all this kind of stuff, I moved forward anyways. And I think, so it's a really important thing that people understand, that when you see the appearance of success, that like, it's not just, oh, this is easy. I just kind of show up and flip a switch and it's like, no, we got human brains, and human brains sometimes are like, are you sure you want to do this? What are people going to say? People are just going to judge you,
Yes.
And so on. And it's like, but we move forward despite that. So, and then eventually you started Sweat Like a Girl. So after Fit
Gym. And then I directed at a few corporate fitness centers around here. And I decided that I didn't like the corporate world of fitness because people were just a number for sales. And I was like, I want to do this. And of course people said, what, how are you going to compete with these big box gyms? And this was back in 2010. So it was before, it was before a lot of boutique studios were around. So I don't know. I guess in addition to those thoughts that I have, I always have that strong sense of who I am and what I want to do. And I kind of listen to that despite all of the
chatter.
I have like this battle going in.
The head chatter and the heart chatter.
Yeah. So I decided one of the girls that would take my classes, who also cuts my hair, thanks, Crystal. She asked me, she's like, you should open a pole studio or bring poles to the studio. And I was like, I don't know anything about pole studios. I've never been on a pole, for those of you that are wondering. So I found a pole certification, and there was no other pole studios at the time around here. So I thought, well, I'll know more than anyone else, right? So I may not know a lot, but I know more than anybody else because I just got certified. So opened up a pole studio, and that was kind of like my niche for a little bit. And then kind of just really grew. I know, whatever that word is. And then the cool thing is like, I had some of my bestest of friends fell in love with pole fitness and became my instructors at my gym. So, I think that's the really cool thing, is that if I didn't have enough self power, so whatever the word is I'm looking for, to do this, my friends that have fell in love with this, that it changed their lives. Like what I was able to overcome really helped to serve so many. And I'm finding, like, finally at the age of 47,
seasoned chicken.
I'm proud of it. That our success is based on what we do for others, how we're serving others. And if like, I know you're going to ask me, like, what message or what's the thing I want people to think about is think greater than yourself. If you have this like amazing idea that you're thinking about, don't let your own self-doubt stop you, because what you do could have an immense effect on others. So I learned a lot through running my gym. And it's again, so, you know, all the experiences of our lives we learn and grow from. And now I'm able to continue my journey into awesomeness.
Absolutely. So, and I think you're an inspiration just in terms of, like, we look at like 40s and mid 40s and like things are going downhill and life is getting harder and so on and so forth. And you're like, well, maybe it doesn't actually have to be like that, you know? And it's not that you have to be like a lifelong fitness star or things like that. I interviewed a lady who at 47 took up, was it Ninpo Taijutsu, which is like the way of the ninja, as a martial art, after being told 3 years earlier that she was going to be in chronic pain for the rest of her life. And she just didn't want to accept that diagnosis. And so she took it up and she got her black belt, I think in her early 50s, actually took up pole dancing or pole fitness at 58 and competed at 61. Yeah.
It's quite awesome. Yeah.
And so,
the only limit we have in our life is ourself. It's true. So,
you get one kick at this, so why not take a swing at it? So, well, let's wrap up with one more. Where do people find you if they want to know more about what you do? What's the best place? And we'll include some of this in the show notes as well. But where would you like people to go check out what you're doing?
Well, right now I'm in my basement.
Yeah. Well, this is only available in the live recording. Yeah. That'd be kind of
where to go to find me? You go to sweatlikeagirl.com. That's sweatlikeagirl.com. And you can find me on Instagram at sweatlikeagirl.com, Facebook, sweatlikeagirl.com. Also my Facebook, Heather Gadesco. And of course, John, they can find us at Burn Along.
They can actually. I think you have over 200 classes and I have over 100
200 classes, and I have more followers than you, John.
This is true. Oh, that cuts right to the core. I have like 100 classes and 100 followers. So
yeah.
But you're
so those are the big places. I'm working on something really amazing. Super excited about it. And I feel like
talk about it publicly just yet.
I'm not talking about it publicly yet.
It's bubbling up inside of you.
I have some people working with me. I'm trying it, beta testing it, but it's going to be big. And again, honestly, on a daily basis, I'm doubting myself, but then I'm like, stop that. So it's being aware of that doubt now. I'm so aware of it, but I'm able to flip it and say, no, like, this is what you're called to do. This is what we're doing.
We can think about doubt as like an integrity check.
Yeah. Just
check and make sure that you're in integrity, living according to your values. So, well, you know, I think you had such a great takeaway message. So I'd like to hear it again, you know, as we wrap up here. What is the one nugget you want people to take away from this conversation today?
The nugget is not a McDonald's chicken nugget.
Don't take one of those away. Do not take a chicken nugget away from this conversation. If you're listening to this like 3 months later, that chicken nugget is very stale.
Gross. Don't take that nugget. Take this nugget instead. The nugget of don't listen to your doubt. If you have an amazing idea, that is your spirit, that is your energy trying to shine through, and whatever you're able to do and serve to others is going to have immense effect, not only on you, but on all of those around us. And I truly believe how we help to change the world, as crazy as that sounds, is through just loving ourselves, trusting ourselves, and letting that energy flow out into the world by trusting our own ideas and allowing ourselves to show the world what we got.
That's amazing. Heather, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Between the Before and After. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a review, because that helps this podcast to reach and inspire more people. I love exploring the stories that take place between the before and after. the powerful experiences that shape who we become. And I love human potential. I love the possibilities that lie within us. So whatever you may be up against, I hope these stories inspire you. Because if you're still here, your story's not done yet, so keep moving forward.
Anyone can come from any place of brokenness and destitution and build an amazing life.